The small, old car darted swiftly through the streets and intersections of the capital, splashing autumn puddles along the way. At the wheel was a young, charming 25-year-old woman in the pizzeria maestro jacket and cap. Carol worked as a courier, spending her shifts delivering orders received from the dispatcher. Since childhood, she had adored cars, so the job itself was a passion, finding relaxation in the steering wheel and the road. However, her boss James was simply unbearable. This overweight, grumpy old man immediately took a dislike to her, giving her the most rundown and old car that broke down every day. There was a skilled mechanic in the pizzeria's garage, but Carol had to fix the car herself. That's how the boss decided it should be. It was a blatant violation on his part. Everyone knew about it, but no one rushed to complain. Carol feared losing her job altogether, so she endured all the hardships, gritting her teeth. Carol didn't give up. She spent every weekend under the hood of her old car. The mechanic helped a bit with that. Eventually, together they brought the vehicle into divine condition. Now, as she drove away from another customer's house, the car began to jerk and sputter, finally stalling at the next traffic light. Carol cursed under her breath, popped the hood open, and after half an hour of tinkering, skillfully changed the spark plugs. The car roared back to life. Wiping her hands with a damp napkin, she poured herself coffee from a thermos, leaned back in her seat, and closed her eyes, remembering her little son. "How is my little one doing? He misses me so much, waiting for me to come home, hug him, and kiss him. It's unbearable to be away from your own child. No matter what you do, your heart isn't in it." Memories of her childhood and teenage years flashed before her eyes like the pages of a well-read book. Her first wild passions, love. Carol had a happy and carefree childhood growing up in a small village 100 kilometers from the capital. Her father worked as a carpenter in a small workshop, her mother as a cook in a kindergarten. A typical family, just like everyone else's. Despite tight finances, her parents never lost optimism and managed to get by together. There were no scandals or arguments in the family. Her parents respected each other. Her father had probably wanted a son very much, so when Carol was born, he was a bit disappointed at first. But then he decided that nothing prevented him from introducing his daughter to his craft. He taught Carol to drive their old car from a young age, and they tinkered under the hood together, enthusiastically going over the car's parts. Her mother jokingly scolded and grumbled while washing the dirty child in the evening. "Thomas, what are you doing? The girl is growing up. It's not a girl's job to mess with the engine. Let her learn to sew and cook soups instead." But her father just joked, winking at his dirty daughter. "You don't understand anything. I can see she likes it. Her eyes light up. Let her tinker. It'll come in handy in life. Making cabbage soup is not a tricky job. But overhauling a carburetor, now that's something else. It takes brains and savvy." So by 18, Carol could dismantle the entire car with her eyes closed. She got her driver's license and raced her friend's car, competing to see who was the better driver. Outwardly, she was very attractive, petite, with a graceful figure and a perky nose. Since she shared boyish interests, the boys considered her a friend and one of the guys. They didn't tease her, they respected her and sometimes even asked her advice on repairs. It was harder with girlfriends. Carol found it excruciatingly boring to listen to endless conversations about eyelashes, face masks, and new fashionable clothes. But she could easily list all the car brands and their parts with her eyes closed. She loved ripped jeans, tracksuits, and always tied her hair up in a bun on top of her head. One day, a new guy appeared in their group. His name was Clark. He came to stay with relatives for the summer. When their eyes met, Carol was immediately captivated. She fell in love instantly. It was some inexplicable chemistry. A lightning bolt or an extraordinary miracle. Clark seemed like a stunningly handsome guy to her. Oh, come on, stop it. Does this sweet princess even know how to drive? Let alone fix a car. That's hard to believe. Well, I can swear she won't beat me. I participated in races last year, so. Carol unexpectedly challenged him. Let's bet on it. Tonight, at the runway, we'll have a race. Whoever arrives first and faster wins. The loser fulfills any wish of the winner. Deal? The guy stared at her with surprised interest. You're so brave. All right, since you're so eager to lose, get ready to grant my wish like a golden fish. In the evening, all their friends gathered on an abandoned runway near the village. They set up markers at the start and finish lines, checked the condition of the cars they would be racing in. The young people were excited, anticipating something new. Races weren't a regular occurrence in these parts, even if they were improvised. Two girls stood with flags, preparing to give the starting signal, while the guys with a stopwatch were ready to time the race. Carol took a deep breath, focused, and as the flag waved, she took off from the starting line simultaneously with Clark. The road was dusty and bumpy, and Carol pushed the gas pedal hard, maneuvering between potholes and bumps. But try as she might, Clark managed to edge her out by just a fraction of a second. The crowd of young people applauded, congratulating Clark. Many shouted, "What about the wish, Clark? What did you wish for?" Clark looked deeply into Carol's eyes and said, "Are you ready to fulfill my most cherished wish right now?" Carol nodded decisively. "Well, a deal's a deal. It can't be broken. So, what did you wish for?" Suddenly, Clark turned Carol towards him, gathered her in his arms, and kissed her. The whole world turned upside down, and stars danced before her eyes. Everyone immediately whistled and applauded. Clark smiled and loudly declared, "I want this brave princess, whom I just kissed, to become my bride." Carol blushed deeply, overwhelmed by the moment. It was nice that Clark, in front of everyone, essentially claimed her as his own. It meant their feelings were mutual. The couple started dating. Both were passionate and jealous. Sometimes Carol felt Clark was paying too much attention to another girl. Carol's parents were unhappy with her choice. Her mother tried to reason with her. "Dear, I understand you're in love, but think for yourself. Clark is a visitor, he's just here as a guest. He'll leave in the fall, and then what? You'll be alone with a broken heart." Carol burst into tears. "Mom, I'm in love. I can't help myself. And I think I might be pregnant. I'm nauseous all the time and sleepy. I'm scared. I'm afraid if I tell Clark, he'll leave me. And Dad will be really mad now, won't he?" Her mother comforted her daughter, and her father, catching a bit of the conversation, decided not to yell and cause a scene but to be clever. He found Clark, who happened to be helping relatives, pulled him aside, and quietly said, "Hey, Zatek. Carol's pregnant. She's crying, sitting there, scared to tell you. Had enough of it? Congratulations." Clark's face changed, and he paled. "Oh, I don't know how this happened." Her father clenched his fists. "But I know. If you try to quietly leave and dump my daughter, you'll be sorry. I'll find you and bury you, understand? She's only 18 in a month. It's too late to run around now. We'll have a wedding. Invite your parents to our house. We'll discuss everything like adults, okay? Do you understand me?" Clark nodded, But it was clear he wasn't thrilled with the news. He hadn't planned on becoming a father and husband at 20 when there was so much life ahead of him. Carol was an interesting, attractive girl, but he could already imagine her gaining weight, losing her looks, the child screaming and interfering with his sleep. And he'd have to go to a job he hated. Not a great prospect. That evening, Carol, sniffling, admitted to her fiancé that she was pregnant. He just grumbled irritably. "Yes, I know. Your old man came over and told me. Good news. He said we'll get married." The girl looked him in the eye. "Don't you want to? It's your child too." "Yes, it's early to agree, but I'm not the only one to blame for this. You watch me, don't you?" Clark, trying to disguise his irritation, replied, "I love you, okay. We've got ourselves into this mess, of course. I've already called my parents, they'll come tomorrow. I imagine my mother will give me an earful." Of course, Clark's parents were against marrying their son so young, but the threat of scandal outweighed everything, and they reluctantly agreed. A month later, the couple got married, quietly having a wedding. The groom sat gloomily, and the bride felt nauseous all evening. The newlyweds moved to live with Clark in a neighboring town. His parents had a 3-room apartment. From the very beginning, Clark's mother did not take a liking to the pregnant bride-to-be and made it clear she was not happy about the union. Carol tried her best initially to please everyone, spending days at the stove, cleaning, despite severe morning sickness. She hoped to improve family life in this way, but received no praise or goodwill in return. After giving birth, Clark became even more audacious, refusing to even hold Steve, let alone take him out, claiming it wasn't a man's job. At night, the baby cried incessantly, suffering from stomach pains and later teething. Carol went sleepless for days, became emaciated, resembling a zombie, yet received only criticism instead of help. Her husband impatiently expressed his frustrations. "What kind of mother are you? Why is he screaming? Can't you just make him stop? This is unbearable." Then the angry mother-in-law would appear in their room. "It's 3 a.m. Have you no conscience? Can't you calm the child down?" Carol sometimes couldn't hold back and retorted, "He's not just my child, but your son's too. He could get up and help too. I'm about to collapse from sleep deprivation." Her own blood boiled. "And what did you expect? Nothing. No one helped us in our time. We did it all ourselves. Matusha hardly sleeps as it is. He has his final exams coming up." Such clashes were almost daily. The young couple's former passion and sharpness of feelings had long faded. Instead, aggression and irritation built up. Carol's parents often visited their daughter with their grandson, bringing groceries, some money, helping however they could. The young mother comforted herself. "It's tough at first. Steve will grow up, sleep better. There will be less to worry about. Clark and I will sort everything out." But her son grew older. Carol continued spinning like a squirrel in a wheel. And Clark showed no signs of change. On the contrary, he started going out more, coming home at 3 a.m, drunk, sometimes with lipstick on his cheek from Ellie, and sometimes not coming home to sleep at all. The poor wife cried, broke phones, searched for her husband at his closest friends, begged him to come home. And his mother poured fuel on the fire. "Just look at yourself in the mirror. Neglected, worn out, eyes empty. No wonder your son runs away from you and won't come home. It's all your fault." Carol couldn't take it anymore. "Maybe you should lecture your son instead. He still behaves like a teenager, not a husband and father. Stop blaming me. I'm so tired. I can't take it anymore." It was as if the mother-in-law had been waiting for just this. She immediately retorted, "Well then, nobody's holding you here. Look at her, she's rude. Living off us. We clothe, feed her, and she's still not satisfied. You should be grateful we took you into our family. If it weren't for you and your belly, maybe our son's life would have turned out differently. There were girls interested in him. He went to visit his aunt on his own." This was the last straw that broke Carol's patience. She had a breakdown and hysterically started packing her and her son's things into a suitcase. Waiting for her husband was pointless. Carol knew he would come home by morning, so she left him a note. "We're getting divorced. I can't take it anymore. You and our son don't need us." As she stood at the door, her mother-in-law hissed after her, "Where are you off to? To Mommy's? To complain? No, forever. We're divorcing your son. I can't do this anymore." Her own blood practically screamed. "Fine, go ahead and leave. And no, don't bother coming back. We, the Madieshans, will find a new, normal bride. You're not worthy." Carol cried all the way and didn't know how to tell her parents about her decision and that she and Steve were coming to them for good. She feared her father's reaction, as he believed in traditional values that once married, it should be for life, no other way. But even in her worst nightmares, Carol couldn't have imagined that this hell could last her whole life. No, enough was enough. She'd suffered too much. The train arrived late at night. By the time they got home, it was midnight. Exhausted from the long journey, Carol held a suitcase in one hand and her sleepy son in the other. With her last strength, she knocked on the window of her house. Bonnie, the neighborhood dog, sensing her owner, immediately began whining joyfully in the yard. An anxious father came out onto the porch and shouted sternly, "Who's out there at this hour? Petka, if that's you, I'm not giving you money for booze, you hear?" Carol cried out in alarm. "No, it's me, Dad, open up." The bewildered man rushed out immediately. Standing on the threshold was his daughter. "Oh God, how much weight she's lost in this year. She looks like a teenager. Only her eyes are left, filled with tears." Sleepy Steve whimpered and fussed, really needing to sleep. The man looked at the hefty and heavy suitcase and understood everything without words. His daughter hadn't just come to visit. But seeing her condition, he didn't scold her. He just hugged her tightly, like he used to in her childhood, and said, "Why are you standing there? Let's go home. Give me my granddaughter. How I've missed you." Carol sighed and quietly replied, "Mom, Dad, it feels so good to be home." First thing they did was put Steve to sleep. He dozed off. Carol sat with her mom in the kitchen for a long time, talking and lamenting the ruins of her family life. Her mother didn't scold or shout, only comforted her. "Don't worry, dear, we'll manage even without that scoundrel. We're not the first and won't be the last. These things happen in life. The neighbors might gossip for a while and then stop. What now? Maybe everything will sort itself out. Men have their moments. He'll settle down, grow up, and maybe come back. And you'll cool down too." Carol just cried. "I doubt it, Mom. He didn't even get up once for Steve at night. It's like Steve is a stranger to him. And I can't stand another day with my mother-in-law. She didn't even hug Steve goodbye. Not a single kind word." That night at home, on her beloved bedding, Carol slept as soundly as she never had before. She only woke when the sun was already blazing through the window, warming her with its rays. The woman jumped up and dashed to her son's crib, but he wasn't there. Panicked, Carol ran outside in her nightgown. Mom was tending the garden, and Dad and Steve were feeding the rabbits. The little one was feeding them hay and laughing, watching them munch happily. The young mother breathed a sigh of relief and, for the first time, stretched sweetly and smiled at the sun. She couldn't remember the last time she had slept so much. From that day on, Carol lived at home with her son. She tried not to be a burden. Although work was scarce in the village, she actively helped her mother in the garden and kitchen. She could see how hard it was for her parents to support them all on their pensions. She divorced Clark. Carol went to court, and now the poor man paid her child support. But it was meager, as he had no steady income. Clark had no desire to see his son at all. He never visited him. Apparently, an early marriage had become a burden for the guy. A year later, Carol went to the capital to earn money for upgrades for her son and toys. She got a job as a courier at Maestro Pizzeria. She rented cheap accommodation, worked hard, saved on everything, but went to see her son a couple of times a month and brought him money. She missed him terribly. The little one missed his mom too. She practically had to tear him away from her when it was time for her to leave again. The woman dreamed that when the boy grew up, she would take him with her, but with such a hectic and unpredictable schedule, it was simply impossible at the moment. One evening, the dispatcher gave her an urgent order to the other end of the district. She was almost there when suddenly a young man jumped out from an alley right onto the hood of her car. He stretched out bloody hands and begged her to stop. Carol mechanically hit the brakes, lowered the window, and screamed in shock. "Are you crazy? What if I had run you over? What happened?" The stranger stammered. "A girl is chasing me. I need to get to the hospital. I think I cut a vein. The blood is gushing." Carol felt unbearably sorry for the poor guy. She saw he was poorly dressed, in old worn jeans and nondescript sneakers, a dirty hoodie with a hood. Carol knew she'd get a penalty for delivering the order late, but she decided to help him anyway. "Get in, let's go." Skipping a couple of blocks, our heroine pulled into a parking lot and fetched a bandage from her first aid kit. Wrapping it around the stranger's hand, she asked, "So, what's your name?" The guy, barely audible, replied, "Rick. Just got out of prison recently. Nowhere to go. And today, some thugs attacked and sliced up my hands. Just pure bad luck." The woman almost dropped the bandage in shock. She had a former convict in her car. It suddenly felt uncomfortably warm. She pressed further, "What were you in for? I hope it wasn't murder?" Rick hesitated, realizing Carol was simply afraid of him, and hurried to reassure her, "No, nothing like that. But, it's a long story. And even if I said I'm innocent, you wouldn't believe me, right? All I can say is, prison is a terrifying place. Hell. I don't know how I managed to keep my humanity. It breaks even the strongest people." Carol nodded silently, drove the injured man to the hospital. "All right, take care. Get well soon," she said. Rick almost teared up, passionately responding, "Thank you, kind fairy. I'll find you and repay you. You can count on it." Returning to the pizzeria after the drop-off, Carol expected a scolding, but not such a scandal. James was waiting, and immediately unleashed like a madman, "Where were you all this time, lazybones? Why aren't you working?" Carol was stunned by the insults, trying to explain herself. The owner erupted in anger, "You shameless woman, chauffeuring homeless people in my car. Now it stinks inside. Get out of here, you're fired. I'll find 1,000 like you. Cheeky brat. Carol felt so hurt, being thrown out for no good reason. She shouted in anger, "Fine, I'm leaving." She cried as she retrieved her personal items from the garage. Mechanics and other drivers comforted her as best they could. "What a jerk. Threw you out for nothing," they consoled. "You did the right thing, Carol. Don't worry, maybe you'll find a better job. Goodbye, take care. We'll miss you." They hugged goodbye. Carol trudged back to her rented room. She felt awful, having put her heart and soul into her car. She tried her best, and yet she was discarded like an old shoe. She had no idea what to do next or how to go on. Depression set in over Carol the next 2 weeks. She was desperate, calling numerous job listings daily, all leading to dead ends. Suddenly, a persistent knock on her door startled her. She staggered to open it, thinking, "This is it. The landlady's come to evict me. I'm already late on rent." To her surprise, a respectable, well-dressed young man stood there with the most beautiful bouquet of her favorite gladioli. He smiled warmly and greeted her. "Hi, it's me, Rick. Recognize me? I've come to thank you. You saved my life, otherwise I would have bled out back then." Astounded, Carol couldn't believe her eyes. The contrast between the homeless man she had driven and this refined gentleman was staggering. She invited him in, poured a cup of hot tea, and began to ask, "Wow, Rick, you look amazing. How is this possible? Did you win millions in the lottery?" Rick chuckled and began his story. "Let me explain from the beginning. I'm actually the son of a wealthy businessman, Mr. Brown. He owned a chain of hotels not just in our city. My mom passed away early on. I was just 13. She had a serious illness, and all the money in the world couldn't help her. Despite being treated by the best doctors, I mourned deeply for her. I still miss my mom terribly. She was the closest and dearest person to me. A year later, my father brought Amanda into our home as his new wife. From that day on, my peaceful life was over. She didn't even try to hide her dislike for me. We often clashed. She had her own son, Austin, who of course moved in with us. Can you guess whom she loved more? In front of Dad, she pretended to care and showed love, but when he wasn't around, it was all for Austin. My stepbrother was quite a troublemaker. He didn't want to study, skipped classes, and spent Dad's money at clubs. I finished school, got into university, and studied business and law. Despite the conflicts and clashes with my stepmother, those years at university felt like the happiest at that time. I had plenty of friends. Studying came remarkably easy and was interesting. Just a couple of months before graduation, my father suddenly and mysteriously died. He was in a car accident, returning from a meeting with partners in a neighboring city. Out of nowhere, a dump truck collided with him on a completely deserted road. How it got there remains a mystery. Dad died on the spot, never regaining consciousness. They never found the truck driver. Despite all the searches, this tragedy utterly shattered me. I barely remember the funeral. I was pumped full of sedatives and fell into depression. Dad left no will, so all his property went to me and Amanda, his legal wife. I immediately realized that this vile snake was to blame for all these misfortunes, especially when the police found drugs in my jacket pocket one day. Apparently, Austin had done it at his mother's bidding. I swear, I had never even tried a cigarette in my life. It was useless to argue. Amanda had bought off everyone she could. There was no one to defend me. The court-appointed lawyer was useless, and I ended up sentenced to a full 8 years. At first, I thought I would lose my mind or die in prison. For me, a homebody who grew up in luxury, those foul-smelling, damp, moldy cells, the atrocious food they called meals, seemed unreal and simply nightmarish. They even tried to strangle me one night, but my excellent self-defense training saved me. The apathy passed, and then I got angry and decided to survive despite everyone. I started working out. I had been serious about boxing before prison, worked like a slave, and did the work of 10 men for the team. This earned me an early release after 4 years instead of 8. When I got out, I couldn't breathe properly. I thought the torment was over. But it wasn't. The most interesting part was still ahead. I tried to reconnect with former friends, acquaintances, tried to start over from scratch. You know, when you're no longer a businessman's son but a convict, friends suddenly forget your existence. I realized I had no friends left. It was so painful when those who had lived off your hand turned away, not even hiding their disgust and indifference. Meanwhile, over this time, Amanda had managed to squander all of Dad's estate together with Austin. She found out from acquaintances that I had been released early and decided to get rid of me. She hired thugs, and that's when I encountered them in that alley. But prison had taught me a lot, including how to stand up for myself. They didn't succeed. I fought back, broke free, and escaped. And then you found me on the road. But that wasn't the end of it. That evening, due to the busyness of all the duty surgeons, the hospital's chief physician, Dr. Andrew Smith, was called in to examine the homeless man for a medical certificate. He didn't hesitate to check his criminal record. I'm grateful to him. When he saw me, he almost fainted from surprise. He snatched off his wig, revealing the bald patch on his head. You're alive, my God. Where have you been, son? I haven't seen you anywhere since your father's funeral. I often think of him. He was a golden man. Did so much for the department. Bought expensive equipment. We were friends for many years. My God, what happened to you? Why do you look like this? Tell me everything immediately. While he stitched me up and treated my wounds, I briefly told him about the stepmother's schemes, the setup with the drugs, and the prison. He was, of course, shocked. He promised to help with everything and kept his word. Not only did he shelter me temporarily, but he also used his connections to help me out of the whole situation. I filed a police report about the attack. Those thugs were arrested, and they immediately implicated their stepmother as the mastermind. The police acted in time. The villains were already at the door with their suitcases. Realizing her attempt on my life had failed, the stepmother decided to leave town and lay low abroad. They caught her. Austin too. Now they're under investigation. Let them experience what it's like to tan at the prison resort. During questioning, her son immediately gave up his mother and told the police not only about the attack on me, but also about her husband's murder. The investigator promised to review my case. If I'm lucky, they might even clear my name. But most importantly, it turns out my father left a card in a bank vault. It holds most of his income. Only I can access it. He anticipated that competitors might provoke him or attempt on his life and decided to secure my future. His best friend, Andrew, was the only one who knew about this card. He didn't even know I was in jail, as everything happened so quickly thanks to the stepmother's efforts. She told him I had gone up north to earn money and disappeared. He never expected to see me alive again. He cried, asked for my forgiveness for letting me struggle all those years without helping. But he truly didn't know anything. Andrew and I went to the bank and activated the card my father left. Now I'm no longer destitute or wandering. I'm a prosperous citizen. That's how it goes. Miracles do happen in life. I'm grateful to my father for looking out for me. Thankful to the surgeon who lent a hand in my darkest hour. And to you, of course, my savior, for not letting a stranger die. Carol was shocked. She just shook her head in disbelief at everything, then asked, "Wow, this is hard to believe. It's like a TV series. So what are you planning to do now? You have such opportunities to change your life." The guy smiled. "I'll start by helping you. It's a matter of honor for me. I was at your workplace, and the guys in the garage told me that the bastard owner fired you because of me. But we'll fix that. I'll simply buy out that pizza chain and run it my way. And I'll appoint you as the manager. How does that sound?" Carol choked on her tea. "Are you serious? You're not joking? Of course, count me in. There's so much I don't like there. James is too greedy. He didn't want to invest in growth, adopt new technologies, improve service quality. It's just wrong. Personally, I change a lot, especially the fleet of vehicles. They're all wrecks. Driving them is impossible. Thank you for such an offer. Just a bit scary, though. I've never been a manager. What if I can't handle it? Then I'll let you down." Rick reassured her. "Everything will be fine. I'm also a beginner. I've just graduated. So we'll start from scratch together. I'll hire you a competent assistant I know. She'll help you, and you can learn on the job. You know, Carol, I feel comfortable with you from the first moment. I don't even know why. I think we'll get along. So I'll be glad if you accept my offer." Carol was delighted. "I'll gladly accept it. I'm on the verge of despair. I'm a week behind on rent, haven't sent anything to my son or parents. And, of course, I can't find a decent job. I've cried my eyes out." Rick was astonished. "You have a son? Wow, and you look so young. What's his name? How old is he? And why isn't he with you? And where's your husband?" Surprised, Rick bombarded her with questions. Carol answered honestly. "I divorced my husband 2 years ago. We got married too early because I was pregnant, and he didn't really want a child. When Steve was born, he didn't even hold him, didn't participate in raising him. Everything fell on me. My mother-in-law nagged day and night, my husband partied, and I juggled between laundry, cleaning, cooking, and the child. I barely slept 2 hours a night. Eventually, I couldn't take it anymore. I gave up on everything, and we split up. But even after the divorce, my ex doesn't help with our son. He pays a pittance. There's no point in living with my parents and my son in a village. You know, there's absolutely no work there. So I had to leave my son with my parents and come to the capital. I can't keep living off them forever. I miss Steve terribly and dream of being able to bring him here soon. But as you can see, the room is small, uncomfortable, and I just got fired from my job." Rick listened attentively and thoughtfully, not interrupting. Then he quietly spoke. "I understand you. It's not right for a child to grow up away from his mother. My own mother passed away early, so I know how awful and lonely it feels without her. No one can replace her in the world. Here, take this money. Don't refuse, or I'll be really hurt. Go home for now. Visit your family, see your son. I'll sort everything out here and come after you. It's the least I can do for you now. After all, you didn't hesitate a minute when you put that wounded ex-con in your car and drove to save his life. Let me sincerely thank you for that. Carol was in shock. She babbled, "Thank you, Rick. Don't worry, I'll pay back every penny. I'll start packing now. What a blessing. Tomorrow, I'll see my son and my mom. Here's my address in the village and my phone number. We'll be waiting for you." They warmly said goodbye. Carol bought her son new clothes, toys, and sweets, and didn't forget about her parents. She bought her mom a new down blanket because the old one was worn out, and her dad rubber boots, essential for their roads. She left after settling with her apartment landlord. Little Steve saw his mom from afar and dashed down the street toward her with a joyful shout. He leaped into her arms as she approached, hugging her so tight it almost hurt. He kissed her repeatedly and kept saying, "Hooray, Mommy's here. I missed you so much. Don't leave again, please. I want to be with you. Okay?" Carol was also crying, holding her most precious messy treasure close and promising, "Okay, my little bunny. I'll take you with me. I missed you so much too. I love you so much. You're the most precious thing I have. We'll never be apart again, I promise." Her mom ran out at the noise and also began hugging her daughter. "Carol's here. We're so happy, especially Steve. He's been such a handful, crying and throwing tantrums, just wanting his mom. Come inside. Dad, drop your motor hoe and come here. What joy, Carol's here." The woman felt so warm and happy in her soul knowing how eagerly she was awaited and loved at home. Then they all had lunch together, admired the gifts, tried on the new things, while Carol excitedly told her mom about her new acquaintance Rick. Her mom just shook her head in astonishment. Everyone was amazed. She waved her hands. "Well, I never, it's like a movie. It's hard to believe. You never know what's waiting for you around the corner. My dad got worried about the joke." "Well, you give it, Carol. You know, he's been gone for a while, and you still believe his fairy tales and want to take Steve with you. You yourself said he's a former jailbird. Who knows what's on his mind? You women are too trusting. Let him come, we'll see what kind of guy he really is. They all like to tell stories and promise mountains of gold. But when it comes to action, they're eager to slip away." There was some truth in Dad's words. Carol herself couldn't fully believe that all this wasn't a dream and was very afraid of betrayal or deceit again. What if he lied and doesn't come back? But she already promised her son. She felt sad in her soul, her mood instantly disappeared. But she didn't show it to avoid upsetting her son and parents. She answered cheerfully, "We'll see how it goes." But for some reason, I believed him. He has such eyes, you know, I can't even describe them. Honest, maybe. I feel he's not lying. But not everyone can be scoundrels. And caring for her son and helping her family, a week flew by like a day. There were no news from Rick. Carol began to worry and decided that Dad was right. And the rescued ex-con turned out to be just a talker. Another week passed, then another. Steve was certainly happy that his mom was nearby and rejoiced that she would stay at home for a long time, but the woman was already exhausted and didn't know what to do next. How to live? What to do? Again say goodbye to her son and leave? Her parents understood her daughter's state of mind, didn't intrude into her soul, on the contrary, tried to distract her from sad thoughts with various tasks and cares. But the young mother realized that she couldn't go on like this for long. The money Rick gave her had long run out, but she needed to live on something. Apparently, she would have to start all over again by herself. The thought of it made her nauseous and unbearable. Suddenly, a huge Jeep drove up to the yard. Rick got out of the Jeep with flowers and huge bags. Joyful Carol ran to open the door. Her heart raced wildly. Inside, everything sang and rejoiced that he hadn't let her down, hadn't abandoned her, and had come like this. Rick looked at her with admiration, greeted her, and began to explain himself. Carol, hi, sorry I took so long, but I've sorted everything out. Your former landlord was very stubborn, didn't want to sell the business, but in the end, greed prevailed. I bought a flat for myself, a 2-bedroom, one in the center, and one for you and your son nearby. You don't mind, right? It's a quiet area, residential, with a kindergarten, school, and playground nearby. I think I've thought of everything. You'll like it. Enough of squeezing into those roach motels, let's move. Shall we go? You can introduce me to your son and family. Carol could only blink and catch her breath. How did you buy us an apartment? It's so much money. I mean, I'll pay you back slowly, like a mortgage. We're just friends, after all. Rick laughed, kissed her on the cheek, and replied, Come on, it's all good. We'll figure out the money stuff later, who owes what to whom. Carol introduced Rick to her parents and to Steve. The little one was thrilled to have a guest, joyfully played with the toy gun he received, chatted nonstop, showing Rick his drawings and clay crafts. Then everyone sat down for dinner. Carol and her mom laid out a generous spread, and Rick ate heartily, praising the meal. Carol blushed at Rick's compliments. His warm words were very pleasant to her. As the dinner was nearing its end, Carol's father poured another shot of sweet thorn vodka and immediately said, Well, how about one more? Come on, Rick, let's go smoke. There's something I need to talk to you about, away from the ladies. He winked conspiratorially at the young man. Carol tensed. She knew exactly how her father's discussions with Clark had ended. Dad, maybe it's not necessary? Rick and I are just. But Rick reassured her. It's okay. We'll talk man to man about our stuff. We'll be back soon. We all have our secrets, right? The men went out onto the street and lit up strong tobacco. Carol's father began. Rick, tell me honestly, man to man, what do you want from Carol? I'll never believe it's just friendship. That doesn't happen. I've lived my life and I understand how things work. Do you like her? Rick answered honestly. I won't lie, I'm not used to it. Yes, I really like your daughter. I've never met such sincere and kind people before, but I was in prison, even though I wasn't guilty of anything. Will she want to be with a former con? I don't know. But I really would like to live together, raise Steve, protect them, keep them safe. The older man said, My daughter got terribly burned once, suffered for a long time. It broke my heart to see her like that. So I'm asking you, Rick, please don't hurt her again. And especially not my grandson. They're the most precious things to us, my wife and me. I just won't be able to handle it if anything bad happens to Carol. Promise me. And don't hurt my grandson. He's a good boy, kind-hearted. So if you're not sure you can love him like your own, it's better not to get involved. Rick sincerely replied, I promise. I won't hurt Carol or Steve, and I'll do everything to make them happy. I promise. I won't let you down. Carol put her son to bed. Her parents also went to bed. But the young couple couldn't sleep. They sat together on a bench in the gazebo and couldn't stop talking. They both felt good and light, as if they had known each other for half their lives. When it was almost dawn, Carol whispered, Okay, it's time to lie down. I need to rest before the road. My little troublemaker will wake up soon, and Mom hasn't even gone to bed yet. I've set you up in the guest room. Good night." Rick timidly took her hand and kissed it gently. "Carol, I really like you. I won't pressure you. I just want you to know that. Regardless, whether we're together or not, I'll protect you and Steve, and won't let anyone harm you." Everything that was happening seemed like a fairy tale to Carol, like Cinderella and the Handsome Prince. And she was afraid that at the stroke of midnight, everything would vanish, and the carriage would turn back into a pumpkin. But from that day on, the woman's life began to change, as if in a fairy tale. First of all, Rick gave her the keys to the apartment. They started settling in with her son. The man helped settle the little one in daycare, which was quite a challenge for her in the capital. They began working together. The job was in full swing. Carol expertly chose new, small, maneuverable cars for pizza delivery, while Rick conducted auditions among chefs, selecting the best candidates. A month was spent on meticulous work and preparation. They changed the style, the design. And finally, they opened. Rick's business and management degree was not in vain. He had planned everything meticulously. The business took off, buzzing with activity. Their shared venture and caring for Steve brought them closer. They couldn't imagine a minute without each other. Their relationship was peculiar, a mix of strong friendship, trust, and a smoldering spark they hadn't let ignite yet. Their apartments were close to each other, and they constantly moved back and forth, no longer feeling the difference between home and visiting. Rick quickly bonded with the little one, and they became friends. They enjoyed playing together, molding clay, and playing ball in the park. One weekend, Carol took her son to visit his grandmother. They missed each other terribly, and she returned home very late. Even from a distance, she noticed that Rick's apartment was still lit up. She didn't want to go home. Without her son, it immediately felt empty and sad. She decided to drop by Rick's for a cup of tea and to discuss plans for Monday. They were supposed to go shopping together. Carol nudged the door. It wasn't locked. She entered quietly. She thought she heard sobbing coming from the bedroom. She hurried there and saw a sad scene. Rick was sitting on the floor, with a family album on his knees, holding a glass of brandy. He was caressing photos of his mom and dad, quietly sobbing like a child. Carol felt awkward and asked softly, "I'm sorry, maybe this isn't a good time. Do you want to be alone? I'll leave right away." Rick snapped out of it, wiped away a tear, and waved her in. "No, it's okay. Sit down. I could use the company. Want some? Today would have been my mom's birthday. Let's remember her. May she rest in peace. I always feel especially sad and lonely on this day. It's been so many years, you know, but I still miss her terribly. Look at her. What a beauty. There's something about her that reminds me of you. You know, I remember just like it was yesterday how she used to tuck me in, tell me stories about the polar bear, and stroke my hair and cheeks. The warmth of her hand still lingers in my heart." They sat for a long time. Rick talked about his childhood, funny and poignant moments. They laughed and cried together. Then he suddenly turned to her and said directly, "Carol, be honest with me. You don't really like me, do you? I feel like you don't pay any attention to me at all, and I'm just a friend to you, nothing more. I'm in love. Can't you feel it? And Steve is no longer a stranger to me. When he sits on my lap, it feels so good inside." Carol didn't say anything, she simply kissed him. It was more sincere than any words. That's how they became a strong, loving family. They decided to knock down the partition and combine their apartments, making one larger space. The couple quietly got married. Neither wanted unnecessary pomp and attention. Carol, more than anyone, now knew. A wedding doesn't solve anything. True happiness should be quiet. Their parents couldn't have been happier with their son-in-law. Finally, their daughter and grandson were under safe protection. They saw the happiness shining in their daughter's eyes. Steve gradually started calling Rick Dad. Once, the newlyweds visited the village to visit their parents and went to the lake for a swim with the whole family. Rick laid out a blanket, inflated an air mattress for Steve, and they frolicked and played in the water like little kids. Then Rick started teaching the little one to swim. He supported him from below in the water and encouraged him. "Come on, son, let's do it together. Kick your legs like a frog, paddle with your hands." Soon the little one was doing quite well. He cheered joyfully. "Dad, look, I did it. I'm swimming all by myself. Am I good?" Carol smiled, soaking up the summer sun, and called her men over. "Okay, that's enough. Come warm up with me. I've made sandwiches already. Little one, did you tire Dad out? We need a break to sunbathe a bit. Don't want you catching a cold before daycare on Monday." Not far away, in the shade under a willow tree, a group of men were drinking alcohol. They were local troublemakers. One of them, watching the happy family enjoying their time together, suddenly crushed his plastic cup with a crunch and threw it into the water. His face twisted with rage. It was Clark. Of course, he recognized Carol. She hadn't changed a bit over the years. And that well-fed, rosy-cheeked boy who called another man Dad was actually his own flesh and blood son. How could this be? It was unfair. The first impulse was to confront them and cause a scene. He desperately wanted to punch Carol's companion, to prove to her that he, Clark, should be the one there with them. His fists itched for it. But then the ex-husband realized, what would he actually say to his son? "Hey, I'm your real dad who never bothered with you. Who was out partying, not even holding you once. Maybe he doesn't even remember me." He'll get scared, and that's it. Only now did it dawn on the man how foolishly he had squandered his family, traded them for friends and flings. And what did he have to show for it? Drifting through life like a stray. No career, no beloved woman, no children. It was unbearable to watch that lucky guy rub sunscreen on the back of his once-beloved wife, tenderly wrap towels around and feed little Steve, holding him close. And Carol, she looked content, happy, positively radiant. Clark abruptly stood up and muttered, "All right, guys, I gotta head home, train soon." They were puzzled. "What, already? We haven't even finished half the drinks. Where are you going? Weren't you supposed to come with us tomorrow?" He just waved them off and headed towards Auntie's house. Rick was completely rehabilitated and his conviction was overturned. He ordered and installed the sturdy monument on his father's grave with the inscription, "Thank you, Dad, and forever grateful." Now he often visited the graves with his family. Checking in, caring, sharing everything there. It eased Rick's heart, as if his parents could hear him from above, rejoicing in their son. Carol never regretted blindly believing in that simple wanderer once and helping him, eventually finding the best and most loving husband and responsible father. And Rick still cherished Carol more than anything. She was the meaning of his life. The spouses began to think about whether to give Steve a little brother or sister. Hopefully, everything will work out for them, because they truly deserve it. Our lives consist of sorrow and joy, and they are sometimes unpredictable, but the main thing in it is to always remain human and never lose hope.